The grid is forming for the opening round, the Blancpain GT Sports Club, a 25-minute race, the qualifying race this evening, and then the main race, the long race, 40-minute race tomorrow. This is the series for gentlemen drivers, largely of a bronze standard, and it's growing like topsy. 26 cars will be coming out to play, and what a mixture we have up at the top end. On the front row, we've got a Mercedes ahead of a Lamborghini, then a BMW and a Mercedes on the second row, a Ferrari and a Ferrari and a Ferrari, 4 Ferraris in a row, then Lamborghinis. There's a real mix of cars at the top end, and it was very close indeed on times. The first 5 runners covered by a second, and included in that grouping was one of the Iron Cup runners. That's the special sector for drivers aged 60 and over. So Martin Lanting, last year's Iron Cup runner, 5th fastest, going to show again that age hasn't dimmed his speed. The temperature's starting to drop a bit here at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Cimoncelli on the Italian Adriatic coast, because the sun isn't long until it'll dip behind the hills. But then following this race, we'll have the opening round of the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup, and then in full nightfall we'll have the GT4 European Series Northern Cup 2017 opener. Cedric Lima up on the front row, outside of the front row alongside Anthony Pons' Mercedes. So that is the black, in fact it's completely unpainted, a Lamborghini Huracan from the Auto Vitesse garage, alongside the gunmetal Mercedes. There it is on pole position. It's from the ACA stable, 2 of their cars in the GT Sports Club race and 4 in the Blancpain Series Sprint Cup. So certainly a very busy times indeed. So Anthony Pons on pole position in his gunmetal grey Mercedes AMG with the little yellow key lines around the edge. Looks fantastic. As you can see, the sun shouldn't be too much longer before it dips behind the hills, but it's been another balmy spring day out here on the Adriatic coast. Second car from the ACA ASP crew down in 4th place on the grid. That's Daniele Perfetti, for many years a Porsche racer, but going again very well now he's transferred across to race a Mercedes. This race 25 minutes, and even in that time I think they'll find the temperature starting to drop. You can see a super packed, busy grid, and largely this is a series, the Blancpain GT Sports Club, for gentlemen drivers, and it's described as a step between club racing and professional racing, and certainly the racing gets more and more professional. And there's a driver who's been professional for many years, Pierre Hershey, the Swiss racer, in the one and only BMW Z4 in the race. Not the only BMW, because we have Karim Oj in the more contemporary M6 GTE entry, but there is a Z4 car that still sounds absolutely fantastic. But the drivers, in fact, when they head out, certain parts of the circuit are going to get that setting sun right in their eyes, but actually not at any of the really quick parts of the circuit, thank goodness. Christoph Ulrich, he's qualified 6th fastest in his AF Corsa Ferrari. I expected a bit more from him. I think he got caught out by a red flag on his best lap and a fair bit of traffic, but he's got plenty of time, 25 minutes to put that right and see if he can advance from 6th. But if he wants to be the top Ferrari, he has to beat the driver of this car, Martin Lanting, last year's Iron Cup winner, also run by AF Corsa, but he has every intention of seeing if he can advance from there in that number 48 Ferrari. Martin, Dutch by birth, but always carries the Monegasque badge on the side. Races under a Monegasque license, but quite an easy car to pick out with that wonderful Italian red, white and green stripe up its nose. Martin moving up from a 458 Italia to a 488 this year, as is Klaus-Dieter Freres, who will be starting 8th on the grid for his Artega Rennsport team, another Iron Cup runner, so he's going to try and keep Martin Lanting on his toes. One of the elements of the GT Sports Club is having fun in the paddock as well, and certainly with 26 cars, that's 26 great characters to mix and match. Team Malucelli fielding one of the 458 Italias, and Marco Galassi at the wheel of that. Now, one thing I need to point out is that usually one would have had just one formation lap, but for this, because they didn't want the cars to come through the paddock past all the fans with preheated tyres or anything, they've decided instead they would have 2 formation laps, a chance to get some heat into the rubber out on the circuit. Here's a proud father. He's proud of his own racing. That's Oliver Baumann, whose son Dominic Baumann is competing in the main event, the GT Series Sprint Cup, but Oliver's decided he's coming out to play as well. He's got an SLS Mercedes and did well to qualify that down on the 5th row alongside Nicolas van Dierendonck, who last year was roaring around the circuits, rumbling away in his Chevrolet Corvette. This year he's crossed over, as so many have, to Lamborghini Huracans and very much enjoying the changeover. So Nicolas van Dierendonck, driver with the longest name in the field, will be starting from 9th on the grid. As you can see, the cars on the front row have got their headlights on. That will become a factor because I think it won't be dark by the time this race is over, but certainly in terms of knowing precisely where the cars are and, of course, alerting those ahead of them to get out of the way. Headlights will be very important. But for the Sprint Cup race later this evening, lights will definitely be required, and even more so when it comes to the GT4 European Series Northern Cup that will round out proceedings ending after 11 o'clock tonight. What a fantastic full Saturday here at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, named after the late and great Italian motorcycle racer. But up on pole position in the gunmetal grey Mercedes from ACA ASP, it's Anthony Pons. He's looked very, very strong in free practice. Both sessions he was able to put in lap after lap that was quick. Cedric Lima, not so quick, but he didn't do as many laps that were fast. But when it counted right at the very closing moments of qualifying, he stuck his Auto Vitesse Lamborghini Huracan onto the outside of the front row. There you can see it, 9.63. So 2 formation laps for these cars. That was a fantastic low-down shot. Great camera work, really augmenting the appearance of these really, really stunning cars. The sort of cars we'd all love to have on the road, or the road-going version, but don't forget these are serious racing versions of all these cars that we look at and lust after on television in all the magazines. 26 of them lined up on the grid, showing how the Blancpain GT Sports Club continues to grow, and more and more really contemporary cars, shown by the fact we've got the 488 Ferrari starting to take over in the place of where the 458 Italias were in previous years. But at the front end of the grid, it's a very, very serious entry here from Anthony Pons for ACA ASP, that gunmetal grey Mercedes AMG. There are some SLS AMGs further back in the field. In fact, you see one just going through the first corner, the dark and blue car. That's Oliver Baumann, father of Dominic Baumann. He's starting from the 5th row from 10th on the grid. 26 cars, as I said. Chance for these drivers who've been sitting. There was a slightly delayed race just ahead of this. It was a local race for the Italian Formula 2 trophy, and so it meant more time sitting in the collection area, just stewing in their own cars, in their own thoughts, their tyres losing what little temperature they had. In fact, they had none. They'd just been pushed through, but it was more about giving the chance for the drivers now to get out there and just get those sighter laps in. They've had plenty of laps on the circuit so far this weekend. But let's run you down the grid. As mentioned, Anthony Pons on pole position in his Mercedes, alongside Cedric Lima, Swiss racer, in his Lamborghini. Then plenty of variety. Pierre Hershey in a Z4 BMW and Daniele Perfetti in a second Mercedes. Then come a whole tranche of Ferraris. Martin Lanting, Christoph Ulrich, Marco Galassi and Klaus-Dieter Frères. And then we move to the Lamborghinis again. Nicolas van Dierendonck and Oliver Baumann in his SLS Mercedes. Mario Cordoni, he showed strongly at points last year, and Alexis de Bernardi share the 6th row. The 7th row, Omura, and probably one of the most distinctive cars in the field, the green and black striped car of Coach McKenzie. Willem Bolis de Pundert, his Mercedes, that looks great as well, is down on the 8th row. The 9th row, Daniel Vogt and Claude-Yves Gosselin, one of 3 entries from the Boutsen Ginian racing team. Patrick Van Glabiker, another Boutsen entry, Karim Oj, Mauro Casadei and Schiavone getting down towards the last 3 rows of the grid. Pierre Filioni and Roberto Ranieri in his Mercedes. And the final row, Deborah Mayer, who ended up off the track, and Louis-Philippe Cernan. They bring up the rear in the AF Corsa Ferrari. But right now, on to the start, or the end of his first formation lap, but the second one coming now for the front runners, Anthony Pons, Cedric Lima et al. As they go through. And we want the field to be as close as possible, because it's going to be a rolling start. We need all of them to get close to the car ahead of them. They've got plenty of time. In fact, they probably need to start doing that once they've exited turn 10, which is the Tramonto hairpin, and then they can bunch up down the long double-kinked back straight that leads down to turn 13 and then into the hairpin at turn 14. So it's up to all the drivers to keep the car in front as close as they can. All Anthony Pons can do is go around on this extra formation lap, just stick behind the safety car that's leading them round, and hope the others get onto his tail. If they don't, that's not his concern. He waits to be flagged away. He should have no one ahead of him. But Cedric Lima, as I say, a late challenger in qualifying. Let's see what he can do at the start. But with the rolling start, it definitely favours the pole man. And Anthony Pons will know that very well indeed. There are the top 3. The third runner, Pierre Hershey in his white BMW Z4. Then Daniel Perfetti in the second of the AMG Mercedes at the front end. So ACA ASP, the French team, run by Jérôme Polican. 2 cars in this and 4 in the main championship. Really enjoying their switch over to Mercedes. Nicholas van Dierendonck, just saw him running through the pack there, the Ombra Racing Lamborghini. And there is the great-looking livery on the flanks of the DB Motorsport Mercedes SLS of Oliver Baumann, working their way around the lap, and with every moment they're going around the lap, the sun is getting lower above the gentle hills just behind Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. Now the field starting to bunch up. There is Jerome Policon, the boss of ACA ASP, the owner. A rueful smile, but with his cars starting 1st and 4th, you have to feel they're in a pretty strong position for this 25-minute qualifying. The main race, the 40-minute race, tomorrow kicking off at 11. It'll be much warmer, very different conditions, and a lot of them, the team bosses will have said to the drivers, keep it together. But of course, most of these drivers have a team boss to run the car for them, but it's very much nobody is their boss. These are their cars, these are gentlemen coming out to play. And I must say, over the last 2 years, having watched them, they have been very gentlemanly out on the track. But don't take that as a feeling that the cars might be hanging back. Drivers like Anthony Ponce and Cedric Lima certainly will not be hanging back, but they'll be focusing on the start. They've just come out of turn 14. You can see the left-hand kink as the field bunches up at turn 15. The lights are out on the roof of the safety car. That will start to peel away. And of course, Anthony Ponce, as he comes up to the final corner, he can't drop the hammer yet. He'll come round the corner. The lights will still be on. He'll have to wait to sight them. And then, and only then, will he be able to look to the start. There's the starting gantry. Lights are red, waiting for it. Wait for the roar of thunder. Wait. And there it goes. You can see the field fanning out. Have they found out too soon? Daniel Perfetti going up the outside, but on the inside. So important for turn 1. The tight right hand. A little bit of jostling there. I think Cedric Lima got a bit of a tap up the back from Pierre Hershey. He's cutting underneath Daniel Perfetti. Briefly, we had the ACA ASP Mercedes in front, and now indeed they are. It's Anthony Ponce leading the race. Daniel Perfetti behind. 4th place is the BMW of Pierre Hershey, and having had a really traumatic first couple of corners, Cedric Lima went from 2nd back to 3rd place. He's pushing down very hard through turn 6 to try and get right under the tail for the first of the serious straights here at the Misano circuit. Bright green Lamborghini action, and Coach McKenzie gained a place at the disadvantage of number 18, his teammate Daniel Vogt. But down into the hairpin for the first time at turn 8. It's the 2 Mercedes at the front being chased by the Lamborghini, and they're starting to drop Pierre Hershey, who's now really got some serious attention behind him. He's got Christoph Ulrich in that red Ferrari, and Oliver Baumann, well, anything his son can do, he can do just as well. He's gained about 3 or 4, possibly 4 positions in the first half of a lap in the DB Motorsport Mercedes. Down the back straight they go, and unfortunately, oh dearie me, Nicholas van Dierendonck changed over from Chevrolet. Oh, Martin Lanting has taken a blow against him, so they got too close together at the start. Lanting is limping around. That was in the first couple of corners, but the Mercedes from ACA ASP pulling clear on their own. Daniel Perfetti very comfortable in 2nd place. Now possible change for 4th place, and it happened very easily indeed between turns 13 and 14. Christoph Ulrich coming through. I thought he might make progress, and so he is, up to 4th place from a driver who started in 6th. And Pierre Hershey, what can he do? He's now got to really fight, because Oliver Baumann's on a massive charge in that number 68, the SLS AMG Mercedes. But the first 2 Mercedes, the newer AMG model, 1st and 2nd, Anthony Ponce and Daniel Perfetti, starting to put a bit of a gap between themselves and Cedric Lima. In fact, nearly 3 seconds clear of him behind. But the rest of the field almost nose to tail as they go safety car out on circuit. See the band at the top of the screen, and that's being relayed to the drivers, and so that nearly 3-second advantage between 2nd and 3rd will close right up. So it all happened in those first couple of corners here at Misano, so tight. And I thought we saw Cedric Lima getting a bit of a tap up the back from Pierre Hershey, but the racing pace has dropped away as they come out of turn 6 and go down that first straight. Runs the opposite direction to the start-finish straight in front of the pits, just over a small bank there. And the midfield runners coming through. You can see Karim Oj in his M6 BMW at the back of that. You can see one of his teammates, number 4, had made a good run. Claude Gosselin had gained several positions in his Buisson-Gignon Lamborghini. One of the 2 Gallardos Buisson-Gignon team is running here alongside Karim Oj's M6. But what we can see, unfortunately, for Martin Lanting is that his car has clearly been assaulted at the rear. Oh dear, we've got another Ferrari off. That's number 60, I think. I think that could be Marco. Yes, number 60, Marco Galassi. So quite a few of the runners in the tail end of the top 10 on the grid have ended up getting caught up, no doubt, altogether. Marco Galassi, he started in 7th place. He seems to be out. Martin Lanting, he started 5th. He is out. So this grouping behind the top 4. Let's look at a replay of the start. You can see Daniel Perfetti about to swing out in the red and black. Well, he was trying to respond to Christoph Ulrich, trying to make a flying start in the Ferrari. He pulled across in his Mercedes, down into the first corner. Second place is the Lamborghini, but as you see it go into turn 2, I think it had a little tap up the tail. And here we had Daniel Perfetti going around the outside to nail down. That was turn 2. That was where we saw Perfetti taking the outside line, and the inside line almost worked for Cedric Lima as he tried to fight back. I've seen how Oliver Baumann gained so many places. He cut the corner, and that's possibly where he gained 2 or 3 positions. But now, as the field rumbles past behind the safety car, still waiting for that number 60 Ferrari to be removed from the side of the circuit. I don't know if Martin Lanting has made it back to the pit garage. Yes, he has, in his tattered and battered number 48 Ferrari, and we seem to have lost on that opening lap number 350, which was Mauro Casadei as well, and his Super Trofeo Lamborghini Huracan. So here is Martin Lanting coming in on more of a wheel rim than any rubber on his rear left. Clearly, one presumes that whichever car hit him from behind at the start, because Martin was starting 5th on the grid. So frustrating. This is the qualifying race. And the 40-minute main race is tomorrow. Oil on track between turns 2 and 4. And the incident between 2 cars, which are number 34 and number 11, under investigation. 111, I mean, which is Stephen Earle in the Kessel Racing Ferrari. And I can't tell you who 34 is because I don't have that on my entry list, and someone's done a change of numbers. I think that could be a mistaken bit of typing. Anyhow, happens to all of us. What I can tell you, of course, is Anthony Pons is leading around an ACA ASP double at the front of the field. Their Mercedes leading ahead of Cedric Lima, who got a bit muscled out in the first couple of corners. He's back in 3rd. Christoph Ulrich now up into 4th. He got up ahead of Pierre Hershey. We saw that a while ago. Running behind the safety car. This is a 25-minute qualifying race as the sun continues to set over the circuit on the Adriatic coast of Italy, on the eastern coast at Misano. A circuit that started in 1972. In its early days used to be run in opposite direction. It used to go anti-clockwise in the days when the Formula 2 Championship came here, normally very early in their season. Quite a host of famous names took victory here, but in recent years it's been more of a motorcycle circuit, but quite a lot of money is being invested here at the moment, and it's great to see car racing series of international calibre, such as the Blancpain GT Series, coming here to play. It's our 3rd visit, and the GT Sports Club, the gentleman drivers, always enjoy their track action. A few of them might not have enjoyed the track action in the first handful of corners with a little blow between it. It wasn't car 34, it was car number 39, which was Willem Paulista Pundert in his Mercedes, that's being investigated for a possible clash with Stephen Earle. That makes a lot more sense because they started alongside each other, 15th and 16th on the grid. Hopefully the oil on the track between turns 2 and 4 is being cleaned up, and with cars running around behind the safety car, it means they're bunched together, which does give the marshals a little bit of clear track on time in which to get out onto the track, get that cement dust down, and soak up whatever has fallen after the clash between a handful of cars on the opening lap. Just waiting for signal on screen to let me know when the race will be rejoined, when the lights will go out on the safety car, when it will peel in. And of course, having had a rolling start at the outset of the race, that was when the fields were coming round onto the grid and they were supposed to be side by side. This time around, the rolling start will be the release, if you will. Good, we get the message now. Safety car in this lap, and as I was just about to allude to, Anthony Pons should find this easier. He doesn't have to be side by side. He can wait for the safety car to come in, and then he can choose the moment to really put the hammer down when the safety car comes in. He gets onto the start, well, even before the start-finish straight, and weaving behind him, desperate to get heat in his tyres, is Daniel Perfetti. For many years been racing Porsches, but now joining the Mercedes crowd at ACA ASP. I think he quite fancies having a tilt. He certainly looked very feisty on the start and had to do quite a lot to keep Christoph Ulrich behind him as Christoph tried to make a run down towards the first corner. Majority of the cars got their headlights on. I can see one of the GDL Racing Mercedes in the background hasn't put his on as yet. That's Roberto safety car in at the end of this lap. The light low in the eyes, you could see, of Anthony Ponce. He comes into the final corner, critical corner on the track, and Cedric Lima looking very aggressive in his Lamborghini, seeing if he can get right onto the tail of Daniel Perfetti. It's not the easiest point to try and take an overtaking manoeuvre. Thought about it, lined it up, trying to unsettle Perfetti, but Perfetti had it covered, stays in second place. But this has worked as an absolute treat for Anthony Ponce. It takes the pressure off his tail. We thought he was going to be attacked by Daniel Perfetti, but Daniel instead had to watch his tail because Cedric Lima looking very, very quick out of the final corner. Maybe he didn't care about the sun in his eyes as he took that left-hand kink. And he was able to close right in. Now he's having a couple of serious nibbles. That's turn 6 onto the little shortest straight down to the hairpin at turn 8. There's a slight kink in the middle, that's turn 7. And you can see they're very evenly spaced, the top 4. Christoph Ulrich in 4th place. Now an overtaking manoeuvre. Oliver Baumann thinks, well, Pierre Hirschi, I've seen you be passed before, I'm going to do it myself. So the BMW Z4 back down into 6th place. Don't forget he ran as high as 4th early on, and Oliver Baumann is on a massive charge. I think we'll have to check it's not Dominic Baumann, his son, who's just hopped on board to help his father out. But seriously, of course, Oliver loves his racing and putting on a really, really mighty performance. So for Mercedes, with their cars running 1st and 2nd, you can see ahead, and now not 3rd or 4th, but certainly in 5th place. And Pierre Hirschi now starting to hold up the grouping behind, including 488 Patrick Van Glabaker. So maybe Pierre Hirschi's grid position started to flatter him. The first 3 trying to edge clear, but Christoph Ulrich is really keeping them honest. Look for that sort of day glowy orangey red Ferrari in the back of the shot behind the all-black Lamborghini, which goes out over the curbs. He's trying everything he can to pass down the Perfetti. It looks as though with 12 and a half minutes this race remaining, that at the moment Anthony Ponce has got things under control, but certainly Daniel Perfetti is having to work very hard indeed. That's turns 1 and 2. Perfetti always looking up the inside to turn 1, but not quite serious. He made a slight bit of understeer there that just dropped him off Perfetti's tail, but Lima is nothing if not brave, and he's able to get close through the twisty corners, and now he's having a go. Is that going to work? Well, it absolutely has. It was as though Perfetti just had no grip left, and in fact really starting to slide around off the circuit. Now Christoph Ulrich must be thinking, well, Perfetti's lost out once, he can lose out all over again as they come down to the turn 8 hairpin. That was a remarkably easy pass for Cedric Lima. It looks as though maybe Perfetti's taken too much out of his tyres too soon, because he really seemed to be losing grip, or maybe he just got wide out onto the edge of the circuit and started to slide on marbles or whatever on the outside. But Cedric Lima in that Huracan from Auto Vitesse is now really starting to show some great speed, and what looked like a nice easy run, albeit just a couple of seconds ahead for Anthony Ponce, is no such thing, because Lima is on the hunt and closing right in. Top 5 starting to pull clear. You can see Pierre Hirschi holding up a bit of a train of cars. And there's Klaus-Dieter Freres behind him in the Artiga Rennsport Ferrari. He fancies demoting that BMW Z4 a little bit further. Of course, the Z4, much more of a venerable racer. Not that old, but just not quite as fresh as the 488 that's right in behind, with the German racer Klaus-Dieter Freres at the wheel, and Patrick Van Glabaker tucked in behind him as well. First 3 over the start-finish line. Start another lap. Coming up to the final corner of the lap, you can see the bright sun. Pierre Hirschi making a bit of a mistake, running very wide and certainly looking rather better. Klaus-Dieter Freres trying to take the outside line, not the line to have, but it's his nose in front. It is. Oh, he could have maybe tried to hold the corner, but Pierre Hirschi thought, no, I'm up the inside. We're gentleman drivers. And in fact, a spinner in front. Christoph Ulrich has dropped it. He was in 4th place, making a challenge on Daniel Perfetti. Maybe just went in too fast, got distracted. Around he goes. He's got to do it all over again. So Pierre Hirschi moves up a position. Klaus-Dieter Freres moves up a position as well. And in fact, moving right onto the tail of Pierre Hirschi now. So Hirschi's got battling everywhere, and Christoph Ulrich has got it all to do again, falling down into the middle of the pack. And what a pack it is here at the circuit in Misano, the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, to give it its full name. So as you can see, the timing screen, 0.6 of a second gap between Ponce and Lima leading the race. Perfetti, well, we've got another spinner. Let me work out who that is. He needs to show us a little more of the flank of the car, black at the tail and red at the front, but facing the wrong way. And that's on the very slight rise out of the hairpin at turn 8. You can see the slight rise up to turn 9 in the distance. Then you double back through the Tramonto hairpin. Daniel Perfetti, the Chupa Chups livery on the side of his ACA ASP Mercedes. I was amazed how easily he ceded second place to Cedric Lima, but the Lamborghini driver was looking just right on top of his car at the time. Out of the final corner they come, and Perfetti just starting to drop back a little bit. Fastest lap of the race, set by Lima the previous time, and almost matched it that time around. And he's certainly looking as though he's got the speed, but he's got to find his way past Anthony Pons. And Pons has been racing for many decades at a top level in GT racing. He knows what he's up to, but he's under severe pressure from the Lamborghini racer Cedric Lima, getting closer and closer. Just under 9 minutes remaining, time aplenty. He made Perfetti make a little bit of a slip, and maybe he can do the same to Anthony Pons. Let's watch and enjoy this opening round of the Blancpain GT's Sports Club, and what a start to the year. Conditions absolutely perfect. Yes, at certain points on the circuit the sun is slightly lower than the drivers would like in their faces. The race started maybe 10 minutes late, a slight delay from the previous race, an incident in that, and that could make the difference between seeing or not. Again, you had those headshots and you can look forward into the car and just see, when you can see the driver's face fully illuminated, you know full well he can see very, very little. Oh, a little bit of a twitch there from Cedric Lima. In the background, you can see Daniel Perfetti hanging on in there, but not close enough to make a move. If there's going to be a move coming, it's coming from the Lamborghini races. Cedric Lima in 9.63, entered by Auto Vitesse. He's really, really making Pons work. That's through turn 13, down to turn 14, slowest point on the circuit, and then they double back round in front of the very large grandstands that have been built here in recent years. Through the little kink at turn 15, no danger of a passing manoeuvre into 16, but it's all about positioning yourself to make sure you're not going to be passed out of turn, well, not out of turn 16, but if the car behind gets a better exit, maybe a move is possible up into turn 1. But this isn't where Lima's been doing his overtaking. He does it slightly further around the lap, but through the really twisty stuff, that Lamborghini seems absolutely on it. That was turn 4, and then we're kinking through the back section. Sorry, that's turn 4 now. That was the exit of turn 2 we were looking at. Turn 5 too tight to pass. Turn 6, well, people have tried it. It normally ends up in tears, but there's a possible, if you have a good exit and can take the run on the reverse wave down the start, opposite the start, finish straight down to turn 8, there's a possibility. Not this time around. Anthony Pons looking very balanced. In fact, his last lap was the best lap in the race, so he's going faster and faster as the sun gets lower and lower. Just under 7 minutes remaining. It's still Mercedes, Lamborghini, Mercedes. They're the first 3. Pons, Lima and Perfetti. Then there's a gap of 7 and a bit seconds back to Oliver Baumann. What a race he's having. There is our race leader, Pons, and again Lima down the back straight gets really, really close in that Auto Vitesse Lamborghini. Back straight has effectively 2, you could almost even call it 3 kinks. Kink at Cavoni, which is turn 11, another at 12, and then you get down to this corner here, turn 13. Into 14 they go, out of 14, into the kink at 15. It's very twisted at the end of the lap, but any passing manoeuvre really comes from the driver ahead making a mistake. It's very easy to make a mistake, just lose your exit speed on a corner, particularly out of this, the final corner. They've all been warned about how far off the circuit they could go, and I say Daniel Perfetti was a fair distance, all 4 wheels over the curb and beyond, so you might have to watch out for that. You generally get given a warning. It's very great road stewarding. Turn 1 and 2 through turn 2, still no glory for Cedric Lima, but I think you'll feel that in Anthony Pons' race suit it's probably getting hotter and hotter as he realises the level of challenge that is being applied by Cedric Lima. Cedric will be cursing the fact that he was slow away on the front row of the grid and lost position, but he's got it back in that great move on Daniel Perfetti. Third became second, and second could yet become first. 5.5 minutes remaining, and Anthony Pons right on his tail. You can see Daniel Perfetti is just gradually sliding away from the tail of that group, lapping maybe 1-2 tenths of a second slower, just falling away. Those 2 Lamborghinis are really having a great tussle. 17 and 18. 17 is Coach McKenzie from HP Racing, and teammate Daniel Fogt right in behind. Ever since the very start of this race, they've been absolutely at each other. No doubt they'll have a big smile about it afterwards, because it's all about getting on the track in these fabulous cars and enjoying some really serious racing. And look how close it is. Oh dear, Daniel Fogt has just got a little bit too close, gone for a loopy spin. And for the drivers coming round the corner behind, they're completely driving into the sun as they exit turn 8. So to have him in the middle of the track was more than a surprise, but number 18 Lamborghini's lost about 6 places. The driver's right behind. Oh, Cedric Lima starting to make a move. Not quite close enough, but he's just trying to unsettle Anthony Pons. Again, Pons with a face full of sunshine as he approaches turn 16, gets it right. In fact, Cedric Lima was the driver who went way out over the curbs. And again, Daniel Perfetti maybe will be incurring the wrath of the race stewards. But right there, Anthony Pons had it nailed through the corner, where Cedric Lima, a little bit looser, ran all four wheels over the curb. Again, he clouts the inside at turn 2, tries to position it through the long sweeper at turn 3, and again running a little wider. Maybe he's taken the life out of his tyres. Maybe Anthony Pons was able in those early laps, when he sat on that advantage for about a second over Daniel Perfetti, was able to not push his tyres too hard. But at this point in the race, it looks like maybe Cedric Lima is starting to pay the price for how hard he pushed in the opening laps, because the gap between them, 0.7 of a second, it looks so it's staying at about that, but it's just looking the last half lap or so it's that little bit more comfortable for our race leader, Anthony Pons. Tucking in behind, but able to make no progress now. Daniel Perfetti in third place. And then he's sitting on a very tidy advantage, nearly a dozen seconds back to Oliver Baumann, who, don't forget, started down in 10th position. He's running in 4th. 5th, Pierre Hershey. 6th, Klaus-Dieter Freres. Got one of the cars in the pit. So 22 of the 26 starters still out, having a play on the circuit, and a very serious play too. There is Oliver Baumann. He's got no challengers in front of him because they're too far ahead. They're a dozen seconds clear, but he's sitting on an advantage of nearly 7 seconds over Pierre Hershey, who clearly flattered to deceive in qualifying so well that he started from 3rd on the grid. Now Daniel Fogg fighting his way back in the number 18 Lamborghini, and right in behind number 70 from GDL Racing, Mario Cordoni, a Ferrari racer last year, trying something different in 2017, and looks like he's enjoying it very much indeed. Wonderful sunset shots at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. Well, it's great for us watching the race. Might not be so good for the drivers as they get a face full of glare, but for the majority of the lap they're able to at least go in the opposite direction, including that long run from the Tramonto hairpin all the way down to turn 14, from 10 to 14. Number 4 out on the track, outside the top, just in the top 10. He's gained a couple of places in the last few laps, is Claude-Yves Gosselin. And he's right behind his teammate. 9th and 10th they are, the BMW of Karim Ojay, and place just swapping as Ojay starts to make progress. And now tucked in behind Claude-Yves Gosselin, we have the 666 entry, the Stila F Squadra-Corsa Ferrari of Yoshiki Omura, Japanese racer. Going a little bit wide, trying a different line there to see if he can do something to get around that Lamborghini Gallardo of Claude-Yves Gosselin. Meanwhile, at the very front of the race, the gap's gone out. I thought it was going out from 0.7 of a second to a tad under 1 entire second, 0.996 of a second over Cedric Lima. Pierre Hershey seems to have been having a battle all race. Klaus-Dieter Freres still chipping away to try and get 5th place from him. 1.5 minutes till the checkered flag will be being brought out, and Hershey really, really having to fight for it. In fact, behind Freres we've got Alexis de Bernardi tucked in, trying to join that battle. 5th, 6th and 7th they are, but still that white BMW holding on, but clearly doesn't have the pace of the very front runners. But can the 488 of Klaus-Dieter Freres use its sort of youth, if we will, to make a move to go past? Final lap, it says at the top of the screen. A final lap it is. It looks as though Anthony Pons will be able to go on towards victory, as we have a minute until that checkered flag will be shown. Pierre Hershey went very, very wide there. This is a chance for Klaus-Dieter Freres. Can't quite get the traction he wanted to make a run, but he's getting closer and closer as they go up to turn 1, but it's so tight through 1 and 2. Alexis de Bernardi, number 65, definitely gaining on them. But now the battle for second, it wasn't a battle, it was a battle first to second, and third was some distance away, but Cedric Lima has really started to drop back in the last lap or so. This is giving a sniff to Daniel Perfetti, but I would say at the moment, as this is the final lap, Cedric Lima has done just enough, and Daniel Perfetti in the Chupa Chups Mercedes will have to settle for the bronze medal position. But out front, Anthony Pons has driven a great race, and there was quite some pressure that Cedric Lima put him under. But still, the number 72 Mercedes leads the way, and it looks very good indeed for him. Daniel Perfetti getting closer and closer to that second place Lamborghini. Oh, and making a big twitch out over the curbs towards the very end of the lap. Just managed to get it together, but his moment has now passed. The Lamborghini, barring disasters through the final 2 corners, will hold on to second place. But victory will go to Anthony Pons. He starts the 2017 Blancpain GT Sports Club Series with victory. This is the sprint race. They've got a 40-minute race tomorrow afternoon, and the team boss, team owner Jérôme Policon applauds his drivers first and third. Cedric Lima stayed home, got home with him staying in second place in the Auto Vitesse Lamborghini. Daniel Perfetti third, and making it 3 Mercedes in the top 4, coming up to the final corner, up from 10th on the grid to 4th place. He'll be delighted with that. Oliver Baumann, some way back from the top few, but to take 6 places in the race, well, that was very impressive from Oliver Baumann. Indeed, 5th place should just about be Pierre Hershey. He does just manage to hold on. From Klaus-Dieter Freres, from Alexis de Bernardi, Coach McKenzie close right onto their tail in the number 17 Lamborghini. Karim Oche and Claude-Yves Gosselin complete the top 10. But this afternoon's race, this evening's race, I think I can safely say, belonged to the driver of the 72 Mercedes. That is Anthony Pons. Started on pole position, was challenged at the opening corner, but made just enough of a break. Daniel Perfetti, his teammate, couldn't do anything, and eventually got deposed by Cedric Lima, who pushed so hard. But when it came towards the end of the race, clearly the tyres had gone away from the Lamborghini racer, and Anthony Pons able to win as he pleased. In the end, 3.3 seconds clear, most of those gained in the final couple of laps. 26 cars started the race, 24 finished. What a great start to the GT Sports Club Series. They'll all be able to enjoy a great supper tonight and come back and play in the morning. It'll be very different conditions, and if it's like the past few days here at Misano on the Adriatic coast, we've got wonderful spring sunshine, and drivers will come back to race another day. So their season is underway. First victory to the ACA ASP team, to Anthony Pons. Second place, Auto Vitesse Lamborghini of Cedric Lima. Third place, another Mercedes from the ACA ASP squad, and Daniel Perfetti. They are the top 3. Into the final corner for the last time this evening, and about to pull over to where he's supposed to go. I think he's missed the entrance to the pit lane. Yes, have another go. Perfect all race. Slightly blotted his copybook at the end. He's our race winner. Possibly just had one of those moments where you forget where the parc fermé is. The top 3 will be pulled to a halt under the podium when eventually the pit lane is opened by Anthony Pons, who's making a bit of a mess of that, and the remaining 21 finishers will be asked to turn left and peel off into the paddock. In fact, it might be fully night before Anthony Pons gets that car straight, but he drove an immaculate race from the front. Cedric Lima tried his bit. He really had a role to play in that race in the Auto Vitesse Lamborghini, and he will be pleased with that position too. And Daniel Perfetti too. I think he's very much enjoyed his move from Porsches to Mercedes. So ACA ASP first and third, Auto Vitesse team in second place. But what a great start to the season. Black and white flag, I've just noted on the screen, to 963, the car in second place for disrespecting the track limits. And a second incident between car 111 and 18 under investigation. That was Daniel Vogt. But what we can tell you is our race winner is definitely the driver of that car, with the red, white and blue of France on his helmet. That's Anthony Pons. Daniel Perfetti, he'll have been happy with his afternoon's activity too. Yeah, 87, he's out of the car. That's the top 3 drivers. You can see the podium up above them, and for the team owner, Jerome Policon, yeah, he's very happy indeed. Anthony Pons, no doubt, waiting for his embarrassment to subside for his slightly missed entry to the pit lane, but he's now out of the car, so he'll be pleased with that little stretch of driving, and has to come back all over again tomorrow, but for the longer race, the main race at 11 o'clock in the morning until 20 to 12, when the temperature will be warmer, the track will be certainly rather stickier. But for the team boss, first and third, that's a very good start to the season for the ACA ASP team. And Cedric Lima putting on the cap for second place. And Cedric looking quite warm. The temperature might be dropping outside the cars, but in the cars they were certainly working very hard indeed, and the sun almost dropping behind the hills just in the backdrop on the far side of the pit lane. But there's the race-winning car from ACA ASP, looks immaculate. But let's go down for an interview with our race winner, because we're going to hear the words of wisdom from Anthony Pons.
Anthony, congratulations. That was a well-deserved win. You really looked like you were pushing it right to the end there.
I was pushing till the end. He was pushing me very hard with the Lamborghini. So the final 2-3 laps, I finally got 2 seconds gap. So I find myself in better condition. But it was tough because of the safety car. There was a bit of oil on the track. So after the restart, it was difficult to handle.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick work there from Dakota. Got down and grabbed Anthony the second he had his helmet off. And that, indeed, I think it was an interesting point about the oil on the track, certainly on the restart when the safety car came in. They had to exert some caution. Cedric Lima, his left his ear tucked into his cap there. Here are the results. Victory and third place for ACA ASP. So Anthony Ponce winning from Cedric Lima. We've just seen him leading the Lamborghini Challenge. Daniel Perfetti tried his bit and had to end up with third place. Fourth place, Oliver Baumann worked his way up the order from 10th. Pierre Hershey unfortunately worked the opposite direction in his Z4 down to 5th place. Klaus Dieter Frères would have enjoyed his first run in the 488. Alexis de Bernardi, another Ferrari driver, 7th. Coach McCanty got right in the thick of the action in his green and black Lamborghini. And all the way down to 22nd position out of the 26 starters, made it to the finish, and the light is dropping by the minute here at Misano. They got their race in, great evening race. We've got 2 more races here this evening, and the next bit of track action will be the opening round of the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup, and that will be fully dark because that doesn't start till 2040 and then it's a 1-hour race, and then we'll close the day with a race starting at 10 o'clock. And as the sun starts to really sink quite quickly, I think we probably ought to have a look at the highlights of the race. The safety car leading them round. They had 2 formation laps to get heat into their tyres, and then they all fanned out at the start. Anthony Ponce had the advantage. He's the Mercedes on the left-hand side of the grid, and he held down first position through the opening couple of corners. I think there was a bit of banging and boring, and you see Cedric Lima trying left and right to get past Daniel Perfetti, but Perfetti from third up into second. Pierre Hershey in the white BMW tucking in behind as well, but one of the first to fall was Nicolas van Dierendonck. He was off the circuit. Poor old Martin Lanting had a clout up the back, and then we had the safety car coming out again, and a car that had fallen was cleared from the side of the circuit, and with the sun even lower in their eyes, Anthony Ponce led away. Tucked in behind was Daniel Perfetti in second place, but pushing really hard, and here's the moment. Second became third for Perfetti, and third became second for Cedric Lima. Closing, trying to close on them was Christoph Ulrich. He had that spin. Fourth place became about 10th as he tumbled down the order, so that wasn't the greatest of spins for him to have. And then I'm afraid more drivers going around. Anthony Ponce, though, now in the closing stages of the race, as the sun got lower and lower, coming under huge pressure from Cedric Lima. Here's a moment. The 2HP Racing Lamborghinis took different lines out of the hairpin, and Daniel Vogt was the one in the second car who went into that slow loop, but at the end of the race managing to drop the Lamborghini. Super slow-mo action through the final corner, turn 16 at the Misano World Circuit, heading to that checkered flag waved from the pit wall. First victory of the season for Anthony Ponce, the driver on the right-hand side of the podium, getting ready for the ceremony. Top 3 drivers, Daniel Perfetti out there in the middle in the black suit from Auto Vitesse, Cedric Lima. What a great start to the 2017 season. And there's Daniel Perfetti out onto the podium for third place. He'll have enjoyed that run. He had some great battling as well, with a big smile on his face. Cedric Lima, he had to work hard, not just to depose Daniel Perfetti, but really to get in on the tail of the driver who would go on to win. The driver here, the first winner of 2017 in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. Victory for Anthony Ponce, taking the top step of the podium. You can see the joy on their face, but also satisfaction for a really good start to their season. And they've worked hard too, a bit of sweat on their brow, and the decency to look hot too. But the first win to Anthony Ponce, applause all round, and trophies all round for our top 3. Up onto the top step they go, but they know they've got another race tomorrow. It will be different, it will be longer, it will be in hotter conditions, but they've got those first points on the board, and now they know what to do next. Time for a bit of race. Cedric Lima deciding to lead, but Anthony Ponce, well, he eventually uncorked, but a great start to the GT Sports Club season. Thoroughly enjoyable. The cameraman gets a soaking, and Daniel Perfetti, always a driver with a smile on his face. And I think down in the ACA ASP camp will be plenty of pleasure and joy after a really good opening race. They came home with first and third positions, but Cedric Lima showed that Lamborghini could well win through the course of this season. But for now, they can go off and enjoy their evening. Hopefully stay and watch the remainder of the action here at Misano. 2 more races this evening, including the opening round of the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup. And as you can see, the light is fading and fading fast, but plenty more racing still to come. Gentle applause from the fans as the drivers move away from the podium. And then we have the Iron Cup honours, which went to Stephen Earle in 3rd place. Second place to William Paulus de Pundit. And victory, Klaus-Dieter Frères. He fought so hard and really enjoyed some great battling. I think the battling will be... he can't suppress the pleasure. He had to fight all race and he loved it. So Klaus-Dieter Frères wearing the smile of someone 60 or over who's thoroughly enjoyed his afternoon's activity at the circuit here. Lots of track time this morning, and then as the sun was setting, he moved not only into victory in the Iron Cup class, but he was 6th overall, and he hated every second, as you can see. Don't forget Martin Lanting, who won the Iron Cup last year, his car was battered on the opening lap, so he didn't get to finish the race. But seizing the moment and seizing 6th place overall, Klaus-Dieter Frères, well, what a great run from him for Arte Garenne Sport. So all gentlemen should be able to open a champagne bottle with just one hand, but there we have it. And Klaus-Dieter Frères, well, he's going to spray everybody he can possibly find. Stephen Earle gets a faceful. But with the sun setting fast over the Misano World Circuit, that's it for now for the GT Sports Club. More from them at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. Looking forward to it already.